Echoplex Media, boo.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do the show live almost every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. Welcome, podcast listeners. You are now the second most popular podcast on Echoplex Media, at least for the last 30 days.
Oh, this is fabulous! Thank you so much, listener. We really appreciate your listenership.
Ooh, we have a. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with your sound. You sound strange.
I sound strange. How do I sound now?
You sound fine now. It was just a weird thing. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Anyway, you can support this project at echoplexmedia.com. Just click the support tab, and I don't know. It's September, so sub to the channel. What's up?
What's up, everyone? This is the Councilman. You can find me at THE_Councilman on X, formerly known as, maybe still known as Twitter, at least in the URL. You can also find me lurking in public comment at the next planning director's hearing. I'm really concerned about that ordinance-sized tree we're looking to remove without replacing it with 4 bucket trees. So we're going to have some words, sir.
Very good. I am excited about our first clip because the San Jose city workers got a bit of a raise, which is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, as you'll recall, listener and viewer, we covered the potential of a San Jose city workers strike. Well, it was averted late last month, and a deal was struck that, unfortunately, Mayor Ed 209 was not all that happy about. He would have preferred a slightly lower raise for the employees, and he's worried about how it's going to affect the budget. So let's hear what he has to say and what the workers have to say.
A big vote in San Jose giving city workers a substantial raise, but the mayor is against it. A live look now in San Jose where the mayor is warning of potential budget cuts to pay for the new salary hike. Earlier this evening, the city council voted to approve a new contract for more than 4,000 city employees. Those employees will soon get a 14.5% pay raise over the next 3 years. Mayor Matt Mahan made the sole vote against it. He says paying for the raise would mean making cuts elsewhere and possibly getting rid of some crossing guards.
I refuse to sign up for and endorse raises that are unsustainable, that put us in a position of potentially having to lay folks off and require reductions in the years ahead.
The workers' union disagrees, saying their research shows the city has enough money to pay for the raises without having to make service cuts.
Well, I mean, of course, they're going to have different points of view on that. He didn't say crossing guards. Is it just that he said crossing guards in a part of that clip that they cut out, you think?
Yes and no. He did allude to, some parks programs. Viva Calle was on his sort of chopping block. And funds were reduced, but not eliminated for that. At some points, things like that were more than likely mentioned in the political rhetoric or in a memo of some sort, right? I'm not sure which, but I don't imagine the unions are making it up necessarily. You're right. Both sides are going to say what they're going to say to get their point across and to get what they want out of the war of the battle for public opinion, right? But at the end of the day, the workers got what they wanted because the mayor doesn't have control of his own council. He lacks a majority, a working majority. He lacks really even a functional majority. It's really aligned against him. Probably there's 11 votes on the council, including himself. It's probably 7-4 against him on just a baseline vote. And unfortunately for him, that 7 includes people that typically would be on, in his ballpark or at least in his value set. And he just has pissed them off and has aggravated them to the point where they don't support a lot of his agenda, and they're not going to support his agenda. So he's going to have to work really hard over the next couple of years and in the next election cycle to try to get a council that's more favorable to him, because he can bitch and moan all he wants, but he's not an executive like London Breed or Sheng Tao are executives in other cities in the Bay Area. He doesn't have veto power over the budget. He's just one vote at the end of the day, like everyone else. So he was one vote on this, and he got voted down. And the workers got what they wanted, and he actually was the only vote against it at the end of the day. Even the council members who may have felt squeamish about it read the writing on the wall and didn't want to side against the public employees, right? But he's willing to do that because he knows they hate them. He knows they already hate him. So it's not like he's going to tarnish his reputation or make it. It actually is playing into his brand, really, to do this. So, but yeah, nothing he can do about it, unfortunately. And the cuts that were made to balance the budget came mostly out of city council offices. So everyone took a hit, and the mayor's office took a hit in their sort of not slush budget, but their sort of discretionary budget, if you will.
So the difference between him and the San Francisco and Oakland mayor is what's like commonly referred to as like a strong mayor, right? Where they have like more powers. They're sort of more. They have like you said, they can veto certain things, and they have the more power. Whereas in San Jose, he's just another vote on the council. He has other responsibilities and stuff that the council members don't have. But
right, it functions similar to like the federal way the federal government does in San Francisco in a strong mayor setup. Right, the mayor is like the president. They're the chief executive. So they don't even sit on the board of supervisors. They are independent from that body. And then the board of supervisors, or the council in this case, is like your, Congress. So they pass legislation, but the mayor still has to sign on to it, or they can veto it and send it back to the council. In our case here in San Jose, it's what you might call it's a council manager form of government, where the city council, the mayor is just as powerful as any other city council member in terms of voting power. The only power the mayor really has, or two major powers the mayor has. One is that they do get to set sort of the baseline for the budget, right? They have the initial take on, okay, this is what I would like to see prioritized in the budget. And then they also get a sort of final salvo like that the other council members don't get. So at the end of the day, the council is voting on what the mayor has proposed as the budget. Even though it might get changed significantly, it's still the mayor's proposal that they're voting on. So that's one power. The second power is that the mayor's office controls the public information office for the city. So the mayor's office actually controls communications for the city, and is the squawk box for the city. So they can also control the message that way too, in a way that council members can't. Council members can speak to the press, and they have, and they do, and they have their own communications tools. But when you're dealing with the power of the city's communication setup, then you have more ability to shape the narrative before the council members can do that for you. So there is some power, but at the end of the day, like I said, he's just one vote, and he needs 6.
Gotcha. And does the mayor also have like certain powers, like under states of emergency and whatnot as well?
Surprisingly, not as many as you'd think. That came up a lot during the most recent Charter Review Commission, when they looked at, whether to move the election, whether to go to the mayoral election, whether to go to a strong mayor setup, right? They explored all of that, and they did explore that question. And I don't recall what powers the mayor was given, but it was seriously considered. And at the end, really the city manager is the primary and lead responsible party in the event of an emergency. And the city manager is is an employee. They are the only employee that the city council has fire power over. They have approval of any other hires, but they can only fire or hire directly the city manager, and then the city manager basically runs the city. So the city manager is your pretty much linchpin. Although that doesn't prevent, as others have said, that doesn't prevent people, the general populace from thinking, oh, something's wrong, emergency, go to the mayor, right? You go to the person in charge. Well, that person's just not in charge in that way.
Right. And it's not the worst thing in the world to try to interface with the mayor during a crisis. But in this case of San Jose, if you want some shit to get done, you got to go to the city manager. Right.
But most people wouldn't know fuck all about how to reach the city manager. Right. So it's really incumbent on the city to do a better job of, letting people know and keeping people informed about, like shit can go down anytime. We have earthquakes, we have fires, we have floods. There's no shortage of emergencies. And it seems to, we always treat them as though it's like, oh, it's once in a lifetime or once in a generation. It's like these things happen. You don't think about them independently, like earthquakes in this bucket and fires in this bucket. You just think about them as disasters. These things happen, every couple of years. So we should be much better prepared, and we should have a much more and better informed populace in terms of, okay, like we tell everyone to have a plan in their house, right? What do you do with your pets? Do you have a bag, go bag? What do you do with the kids? How do you what goes down when there's an emergency? We really should do that in terms of like, who do you call, right? And who's in charge? We need to do better job of informing people that way.
Though maybe the city manager's office don't mind so much that they're not getting this flood of phone calls anytime anything goes wrong.
New phone, who dis?
Yeah. A new city manager, who dis?
New office, who dis? New administration, who dis?
So we're going to move on to a man-made disaster. It seems like the city of San Jose is in a little bit of trouble for shooting you, actually.
Yeah, they got into a bit of a kerfuffle, honestly. And this is just one of a number of cases that was pending with the city from the George Floyd protests. As y'all might recall, there was some malfeasance on the part of police officers, some non-lethal projectiles that hit people in very sensitive places, and in fact permanently damaged some folks to the point of like losing an eye or losing other parts of their body, and not to mention all sorts of other violence by police officers against people who were, for the most part, peacefully and non-violently protesting some absolute bullshit. So here's the settlement came down in one sort of series of cases just recently. So it looks like the mayor's unfortunately going to have to find even more money to pay those workers because the city's out a little bit more. But we'll talk about it in the back end.
New at 10, 3 years after the George Floyd protest, the city of San Jose has agreed to settle an excessive police force case for more than $3 million. Officers fired rubber bullets into a crowd of protesters, injuring multiple people and causing one man to lose one of his eyes. KTVU's South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters live tonight outside police headquarters there in the
looking good.
LaMonica, you've got more now on the settlement.
Yeah, Mike, this is what a rubber bullet looks like that the San Jose
Yes.
police used. Now, the lead attorney says that this case was headed to trial next month when they decided to settle, but she still believes the police department needs to improve how it handles the community.
There was basically no accountability at all for the violence that was inflicted during these protests.
After George Floyd was murdered in 2020 by police in Minneapolis, protesters took to the streets all over the country, including in San Jose. San Jose police declared the protest unlawful, used tear gas, and fired rubber bullets towards protesters. Multiple people were hit, including Michael Acosta, who had to have his eye removed after the incident.
Not one single officer has been disciplined. They suspended all internal affairs investigations into the incidents that were in litigation as kind of a way, I guess, of thinking that it could escape liability.
Police say protesters threw objects, injuring them, and vandalized property, but the plaintiffs say they, in particular, were not violent towards police. On Tuesday, San Jose City Council approved a settlement of $2.9 million for Acosta, and 11 other plaintiffs, including the NAACP, will split $450,000.
I do believe the independent police auditor needs to be given more strength, more voice, and more independence from the city and from the police department.
Letterman says Officer Jared Ewan was responsible for hitting Acosta in the eye with a rubber bullet.
He was captured on video cursing at protesters, showing, saying, let's get those curse words, and expressing eagerness to shoot them.
Letterman also says moving forward, she'd like to see the San Jose Police Department make more policy changes.
There actually were protesting about police violence and about police impunity for racist violence. And there's a different way to deal with that than to send police to shoot them.
Now, within the terms of the settlement, the city of San Jose did not admit any wrongdoing. We reached out to the San Jose Police Department, but didn't hear back from them. And the San Jose Police Officers Association declined to comment. Mike?
LaMonica Peters live tonight in San Jose. LaMonica, thank you for that.
That lady made a good point. She's like, you go out there to protest against police violence, and then you're somewhat likely to become the victim of police violence.
Yeah, it's just the irony just is disgusting. It's runs really thick. You could cut it with a knife, as they say. And it's just it's good for the defendants, to settle and to get this done and to get it behind them and to get something out of it is, I'm sure, nice as far as money, right? But at the end of the day, that guy's eye's not coming back, right? Like, and the trauma of losing it and the trauma of what went down is not going to be erased or wiped off by any sort of settlement, it wouldn't have been if the case had gone to trial and the city had to pay even more money, right? And attorneys got paid even more money to take it the full distance. So good on the plaintiffs, and it's just unfortunate that the city doesn't have to admit any wrongdoing in settling something like this, right? Like, they're obviously the settlement itself should say it all, right? Like, they can say, oh, well, we're just trying to save on legal fees by not going to a full trial, but really it is admitting wrongdoing, and they are wrong. They were wrong. You saw those freaking quote unquote rubber bullets, right? Those things it's like that's only there to inflict damage. It's not there to quell. That's something that's not used to tamp down. That is to inflict damage and to frighten and scare and petrify and make people run.
We watched a lot of it kind of live here, actually, as it unfolded. We watched it live on this channel, and we saw the way the police were behaving. They were very aggressive, And it was really, really, what was really odd to me about that is when the crowd was small, the police were aggressive. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, sure. And I mean, you're not supposed to get aggressive anyway, but like, I saw like aggressive behavior towards like there was like an ABC7 reporter who the fucking police were like shoving with his baton.
Yeah.
And the reporter was like, I'm press. And I was like, dude, then cover the fucking story. Just explain that you just got brutalized by the police. Like, what the fuck?
Right. But it's just a culture of fear that we live in, right? Where it's like, they have the guns and they have the ammo and they have the bulletproof vests and the tanks and the paddy wagons and all that shit, and the shotguns. So and the rubber bullets. So they have all the power. So it's not surprising that more folks don't step up. But in this case, it's good to see that people were stepping up, and it's good to see that the department is being held accountable by the city leaders to some extent. Not everyone is bootlicking. Some folks are coming on board with the need for reforms here and elsewhere. We're having a national dialogue about it. It's ongoing. It's not going to end anytime soon, but it's happening. So that's all good. Those are all good things. Yeah, I saw it firsthand myself. I was down there, and there were people just not doing much of anything, right? And just expressing their free speech and their First Amendment rights. And like it said in the story there, it seemed like these guys and gals, some of them were just there because they wanted to be there. They wanted to crack some heads. They wanted to knock some people down. They wanted to shoot. They wanted to shoot some of these fools. And who knows if they had been allowed to use lethal, munitions, what would have happened? So I guess okay that they only got to use these non-lethal quote unquote munitions. But yeah, that dude lost an eye. Another person two other people got hit in the genitalia, and may not be able to have kids in the future. So yeah, we really got to change the way we go about things. But so good on protesters. Keep protesting. It's not going to happen overnight.
So up next, we missed any of the stories about Dreamforce last week while we were off. But this is actually from last week because we made a docket last week. So this is SF Mayor London Breed denying that they cleaned up the city for Dreamforce. I am not even sure what that is supposed to mean, but whatever. Let's go.
We'll find out.
Well, San Francisco put its best foot forward for the mega tech conference Dreamforce. So now the question is, if the city can transform for visitors, why can't it be like this every day? ABC 7 News reporter Suzanne Fon took the question to Mayor London Breed to get her reaction. Suzanne?
So Kristen, Mayor Breed pushed back. She said the city did not go through a major transformation just for Dreamforce. She says San Francisco is cleaned up for every single convention, and overall, things are getting better. It's the final day of Dreamforce. So-called trailblazers are still trying to get as much as possible out of their experience.
A lot of AI talk. I think that was the word of the day. It's been absolutely epic. Great event.
Less than 24 hours earlier, sales...
what happened? What cleaned up the city is when all these motherfuckers left.
Benioff sat down with Governor Gavin Newsom to talk about what he's seeing in San Francisco.
This is probably the cleanest I've ever seen San Francisco. It's amazing how clean the streets are. Listen to this. Why can San Francisco not be like this every single day?
The governor replied that it is possible. He said it's up to the city of San Francisco and its leaders. We asked Mayor London Breed to respond to that and Benioff's claim that Dreamforce made the city's transformation possible.
It's not just because of Dreamforce. There are other conventions. This is what we do for every convention that comes to San Francisco.
Breed says conventions are key to the city's economic recovery, and she claims things have improved.
So my pushback is, that San Francisco is changing. Things are getting better.
The mayor admits that the city still sees challenges in the Tenderloin and south of Market.
Part of what I am doing is not pointing the finger at anyone, but rolling up my sleeves to take full responsibility and do everything we can to address those issues.
Issues like drug use, homelessness, and crime.
And we are seeing some impacts, especially with daytime open-air drug dealing.
I bet you could have found some drug use at Dreamforce.
Other issues, but we are aggressively doing everything we can, and I think over time we're going to see some significant improvements. In fact, I feel like they're already happening.
Back to Dreamforce.
I think San Francisco looks great.
Karush Nauri and Megan Aguayo live and work in San Francisco and attended this year's Dreamforce. They noticed a big difference in and around Moscone Center.
But yeah, I think they did a good job cleaning up
for Dreamforce.
To be honest, I think people would like to exaggerate how bad San Francisco has gotten.
Dreamforce attendees from all across the globe have had varying impressions of San Francisco.
I've heard things, but everything was fine.
It is sad to see some of the things that are happening in the city, but this kind of I think it just happens everywhere.
Mayor Breed says J.P. Morgan Chase hosted its convention in San Francisco and wrote about its incredible experiences in the city. Breed also says many other companies have signed on to hold their convention in San Francisco in the coming years. Live in the newsroom, Suzanne Fawn, ABC 7 News.
Suzanne, thank you.
Some of the people there kind of was like, hey, I know this is all exaggerated and this shit happens everywhere, so yeah.
Yeah, a very rational take. But Mayor Breed wants you to know that they don't just clean out the homeless people and shove them under the rug just for Dreamforce. They do that for every convention. So just making sure you're aware that that's how they treat things constantly, not just around Dreamforce time. So rest assured, San Francisco.
So what I think might be going on here is the streets around the Moscone Center were kind of bustling with Dreamforce attendees. So there were probably the same number of homeless around. Whatever the kind of people they would like to sweep under the rug, the same number of people around. You just might not notice them because there's so many fucking people there for Dreamforce.
Sure, and it just becomes, something that large takes over an area. It just becomes the area for that time, right? And you kind of don't see the rest of things, right? The underside, the back alleys, these things. People and folks do recede, right, from this, because this is just an onslaught of mania. And like you said, it was cleaned up when they left, right, when the convention goers left. Perhaps the unhoused population or the folks on the street see these folks the same way that they see them, and they back away because they don't want to be around all these fucking tech bros, because God knows what could happen when you put that many tech bros into one space together.
Yeah, I think but I think this is kind of a net good, even though I like to make fun of Dreamforce because it's almost like an MLM for people who are already rich and don't really mind if somebody steals some of their money. It's almost like a Tupperware party for rich people, kind of like. Yeah. And so, but in a way, this is good because these same people, the same cohort of people who have been saying that San Francisco's a giant shithole went there and had a great time and are kind of talking about it. And so it's like, well, maybe you were wrong. And the one guy was like, oh, I've heard all this stuff, but that's not been my experience. One lady was like, I saw some shit, but you see some shit everywhere. I mean, it's like, so not bad. Yeah.
So there are some winners there, I suppose. But hopefully public opinion is a winner, and we're moving that around. But regardless, if you're looking to really clean up the city, in the way that folks are talking about cleaning it up, it usually means getting folks off the street. Well, that's an honorable thing to do, actually, and folks are working really hard to do it. And we actually have seen a downtick in the rent lately, but I don't know if it's going to really help in the greater scheme of things. I suppose we'll find out from Fox 2 News.
We'll see, and we'll see what Fox 2 has to say about it.
Yeah.
Renters in the Bay Area may be getting some relief. Recent data shows that rent prices across California have dropped more than 2% in a year and more than 4% in the Bay Area alone. KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters joins us live tonight with more on the story. LaMonica.
Mike, a drop in rent prices is a good thing, or is it? A local housing advocate tells us that the drop in rent prices may not be as good as people think it is.
And even if they've gone down slightly, it's not going to solve the affordable housing crisis because rents are so high already.
According to ApartmentList.com, rents in the Bay Area have taken their biggest year-to-year dip over the last 27 months. Contra Costa County had the largest decrease of 4.9% in a year, and Alameda County rental prices fell by 4.5%. Still, some people we spoke to say they don't think the decreases will make housing any more affordable.
It's just chaotic given inflation, given the cost of living has gone up. And the sad part is wages in almost any industry has stayed the same.
It was high to begin with, so if it's going down, I don't know if it's enough.
Rent prices in San Francisco County fell by 4.3%, San Mateo County fell by 3.6%, and in Santa Clara County, 3.1%. President of the Affordable Housing Network in Santa Clara County believes the small decreases may send a warning signal to private builders.
So if rents are projected to go down or stay level, they simply won't build. And when they don't build, supply gets tighter and then rents start going up again. So this is not a solution to our housing crisis.
Perry says the rent decreases may be due to remote workers and others leaving the Bay Area for cheaper housing. He also says 20% of renters in San Jose are severely rent burdened, meaning they use more than half of their income to pay rent.
And that's the kind of rent that if you have one problem in your family, like an illness or some accidents, any unforeseen emergency, you can end up homeless, and certainly you can end up being evicted.
Now, Perry says that long-term affordable housing is still desperately needed in California. He says he supports new state bills, proposed bills like like Senate Bill 555 and Assembly Bill 309, which will make way for new state-owned housing that will cap rents at 30% of people's income. Mike?
All right, LaMonica Peters live.
Oh, shit. Public housing. People are going to freak the fuck out.
It's okay, bro. They're calling it social housing.
Oh, yeah. Nobody's gonna freak the fuck out at the fucking Shasta County Board of Supervisors meeting about the social housing.
No, not at all. And that's exactly where it's going to get fought out, because the state's going to mandate it. Maybe they'll even provide funding for it, but it's really going to be the local municipalities and counties and cities that are going to have to actually be the owners and the managers of these properties. Yeah, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a public comment super shitstorm. And it's only going to benefit this network. Just remember to check echoplexmedia.com. The revolution will be podcasted.
The strange thing about this is there's going to be two neighboring communities that I know pretty well. One's Los Gatos and one is Campbell. Los Gatos, they're going to throw a fucking fit about it, and Campbell's just going to build the fucking housing, because that's been sort of the nature of like the West Valley in San Jose, is that Campbell keeps building fucking housing, and like, which is crazy because you wouldn't think that. You'd think that it's a NIMBY place, and it's not.
It doesn't behave like its surrounding cities, even West San Jose. Like the spaces in San Jose, like Cambria and Willow Glen, and the West San Jose Peninsula, if you will. These areas are much more NIMBY-ish than Campbell is as well, and they surround Campbell. It's very interesting. It's very much an outlier in that way. There's infighting in Campbell, and it's not like it's easy breezy, but there's a majority of folks there, and there's political will to get it done.
And I think that the messaging from the city has been it's been around like the downtown corridor. Come here, live here, work here, play here, have good food. Like the other, and I don't want to get too nostalgic about my former place. The other thing I noticed in Campbell is there were women on Campbell Avenue. Like, women went out. I'm gay. I wasn't trying to hit on them, but it was sure nice to see them.
I like women.
Yeah, some of my best friends are, women.
Some of my best friends are, well, lots of things. But anyway, yes, no, Campbell has always been an outlier in that way, and we could learn a lot from them, I think. Maybe not anytime soon. And again, we're talking about market rate housing, right? We're not talking really about affordable housing. We're talking about rents across the board. So
right. Well,
that's great. But
this bill from the state was going to cap things at 30% of people's income, and it was going to be state owned. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. Is that going to be like for other places where they've built a lot of housing are Mountain View, but that's almost all market rate or even above market rate. It's like almost all luxury condos and stuff. Sunnyvale's built a lot of housing as well. And so I'm curious how this is going to play out in those places in the Santa Clara County where housing has been built. Is this going to be like where people get pissed off? Right? Is this going to be the thing that people don't like?
Well, there's already a struggle with even those market rate, denser housing developments in Mountain View and Sunnyvale, and they are building their share of affordable. They are doing their best, but it's the same kind of struggles you're going to have with the folks who were, just aligned completely against any notion of public housing or public subsidy for housing, or social housing. So the battles are yet to come, but they're ongoing as well too.
So we're going to move up to Oakland here. I'm about halfway between Campbell and Oakland now, actually, if anybody wants to stalk me. This is a city, community leaders are kind of pissed that the city botched an application for more funding for the cops. If they're going to, if they have to fund the fucking police anyway, they may as well get the funding out from outside of the city. But we'll see what's up here. We'll see what kind of mistakes were made. And hopefully, whatever this is, if it's bad that this was rejected or whatever, hopefully the city gets a chance to reapply. I feel like everybody deserves a mulligan, except maybe the OPD.
Oakland community leaders now rallying after the city missed the deadline to apply for millions of dollars in state crime-fighting funds. And today's Oakland's NAACP, the Chinatown community leaders and church activists calling out the city for that botched application, now demanding answers. Well, the city administrator says they submitted their application to the state, but it was incomplete. Community members voiced their frustration, saying this is a missed opportunity for Oakland.
Missed the deadline sounds like negligence. Sounds like somebody was not focused on what was needed, what was necessary to do.
What is going on in Oakland is a civil rights issue. The buck stops with the mayor. This is the mayor's fault. It stops with the mayor. We need to hear from the mayor.
And Mayor Sheng Tao was asked about the city missing that deadline at her Town Talk event yesterday. She directed questions about the state money missing to the city administrator, Justin Johnson. He called the outcome unacceptable.
But we certainly I accept responsibility for what was lost. Quite frankly, we just missed it, and so we failed in that space. And so there really isn't an excuse. All I can say is that we'll certainly look at this as an opportunity to improve and move forward.
Meantime, several jurisdictions throughout the Bay did get a share of the state's $267 million for retail theft. That includes Alameda County District Attorney. Across the Bay in San Francisco, the police department just got a $15 million bonus to support the fight against retail crime.
So I feel like the city of Oakland could probably just go to the state with a fucking metaphorical hat in their hand and be like, hey, we missed this deadline. Is there any way we can reapply? And I don't feel like this. I feel like the state of California is not very inclined to tell them to go fuck themselves. Because I don't know how much with Gavin being politically ambitious. I don't know how involved directly he is. But with him being so politically ambitious, one of the things he's going to have to fight against is going to be this perception that California is this crime-ridden shithole, which it isn't. But if he's politically ambitious, he would probably want to grease the wheels to try to give Oakland a bit of a mulligan here if possible.
Sure, I think so. They could also appeal to their state legislators who could easily, float a bill that would, appropriate some funds from the budget in the next, budget adjustment to the cause. So there are some opportunities there, but it's just another unfortunate blemish on, it's not on Sheng Tao necessarily in her administration, but it's certainly on the city, the 911 debacle, and some, the hack and so many other things, the ransom hack. It signals that someone needs to get their shit together at the city of Oakland, right? Or maybe a lot of people do, and things need to change. But again, folks in the community are going to use this as an opportunity to go after the mayor or after their political enemies. But really, no one's unfortunately going to more than likely talk about how we can get solutions in general going forward. So no matter who the mayor is or who's in charge, right? That there are solutions and there are securities and safety mechanisms in place to prevent shit like this from happening.
Well, looks like the business owners have a whole other shit going on there in Oakland. I watched some of this, and I have some thoughts on the way the news is covering it, and the way the news is acting like this is, and then the magnitude of the actual protest. So we'll go ahead and run the clip, and then I'll tell you what I saw and read from some local people in Oakland on the ground on my Twitter feed.
6:35 right now, and happening today, people in Oakland bracing for a strike, but not one with labor actions or picket lines. This one includes frustrated business owners asking for more help. Today in the Bay's Ginger Conejero Saab is with us this morning out of Oakland. And Ginger, this is really those business owners letting the leaders in Oakland know they're fed up.
That is exactly right, Marcus. It's a strong message that they want to send to their local officials, business owners who have repeatedly dealt with robberies and break-ins. They're saying enough is enough. And Nigel Jones is one of those business owners. He owns Kingston 11 here in Oakland. He said his business was broken into less than a month ago. Thieves took cash, they shattered his front windows, and they left him with more than $2,000 in damages. So he is striking today, and he isn't the only one. A group of Oakland business owners are planning to close their doors, some for the entire day, others for several hours, to get the attention of local officials. They want improvements to public safety, including more police patrols on the street and more financial assistance for local merchants.
Those instances of aggression, economic aggression, actually impact your team directly or indirectly, but they also impact the other businesses.
Carl Chan, the president of the Oakland Chinatown Chamber Foundation, is organizing the strike. He says those who are going on strike are calling for funding from all levels of government. And you'll remember that Oakland made headlines last week for missing a deadline to apply for state grant money in helping address crime within the state. And that, Marcus, coupled with what business owners are experiencing, like Nigel Jones, less than a month ago, his business got broken into, with what they're experiencing in the community, they're really saying that this is enough is enough, and it's extreme frustration that's really motivating this strike. There is a press conference that we're looking out for that will begin at 10 this morning. It's happening outside Le Cheval restaurant, also here in Oakland, and unfortunately that restaurant has made the recent announcement that it will close its doors. So before more restaurants like that do the same thing, these business owners are really hoping they can make some significant change. Marcus?
And for some reason, there wasn't much news coverage of the actual protest. Councilman, would you like to take a wager as to why there wasn't a whole bunch of news coverage of the actual protest?
Well, either A, because there wasn't a whole lot going on and it wasn't very newsworthy, or B, the corporate structure of local news is aligned against the small business person.
A.
Yeah,
I saw pictures of the press conference on Twitter, and like you can lie in a photograph, right? Like you could show, maybe the first speaker or the last speaker or whatever. But it was a source that I generally go to for like on the ground stuff in Oakland, and they were like, it looks like there were 4 businesses that shut down, so far as I can tell. And I don't know if they were like exaggerating for effect or whatever, but it wasn't big, and it wasn't on the news because it wasn't shit.
Yeah, and it wasn't very organized, if it was organized, or if there was more than a handful of businesses involved. It was very poorly organized and poorly publicized. There was, I think, another hit this morning on the news, but we might be able to find something next week. Perhaps it'll post later on. But yeah, not much to do about nothing. But I think there's a genuine concern that the streets are unsafe, that the city is unsafe, that the Bay Area is unsafe, that everything's going down the shithole. And maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. But from what we can tell, it's a lot of rhetoric and not really a lot of anything grounded in facts. And speaking of facts, Oakland really needs to get its shit together in a lot of ways, as we've been saying. So we really could have filed all these stories under that. But in one particular case, there was a big to-do about firing the police chief because of his actions or inactions in representing the city and serving the city. And now it turns out that it looks like he's been exonerated. Not that he's going to be coming back anytime soon, but we're going to find out more from our good friends at KTV.
From the onset of this, that I was not guilty of any of these allegations, that the facts would come out in this case, and when the facts did come out, I felt like I would be vindicated, and today is that vindication.
Former Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong says he's vindicated. A new report concludes allegations that led to his firing lacked credibility. The chief says this new report proves he was wrongly fired. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meebeck.
And I'm Julie Hayner. Meanwhile, the city of Oakland has been without a police chief since February as crime runs rampant. New at 10 tonight.
Crime runs rampant? Does it?
Rampant.
Amber, you obtained a copy of that confidential report.
She has a report that says so.
This is a copy of that report. Now, the police chief says it is a validation of what he said all along. The mayor says she stands by her firing of him. During the special police commission meeting, people in the audience wanted to talk about former police chief LaRon Armstrong, who was fired by Mayor Sheng Tao in February. His termination came after a probe which criticized his handling of misconduct investigations involving his officers.
I'm here to speak and say that the chief doesn't deserve to be returned.
Living in Oakland without Armstrong has been not feeling that someone connected to the community and having the ability to understand.
KTVU obtained a copy of the confidential report regarding Armstrong's administrative appeal of his termination. A hearing officer who is a retired judge says his suspension should be reversed. She found that he was not in violation of department policies and accusations that led to his termination were unfounded. Armstrong says the report exonerates him of any wrongdoing.
The people of Oakland deserves to know that the son of the city did not violate them, did not undermine their trust, that I am who I said I was, committed to the city of Oakland, someone who was doing the job the right way.
Mayor Sheng Tao issued a written statement that said, in part, there was no recommendation that I reverse my decision to move the department forward under new leadership. Oakland needs leaders, including OPD, who will stand up and make tough decisions in the name of accountability and community trust.
And regardless of the mayor's decision, I felt like my reputation was important to restore. And I think today is that moment.
The administrative appeal report recommended that the city and the former police chief meet and find a resolution which could include his reinstatement. Armstrong did not say if he's seeking reinstatement. He says he and his attorney will exhaust all legal possibilities, including a lawsuit. One commissioner supports including Armstrong as a potential candidate to be recommended to the mayor.
I think to ignore former Chief Armstrong as a candidate would be to ignore a significant amount of community voice. Therefore, we have to balance that with, what we understand is a very sort of polarizing and dynamic situation.
Oaklanders say not having a police chief has hurt the city.
Crime is going up. It's been like you don't feel like people care.
The police commission decided to extend the interim police chief position until a new chief is in place. One commissioner tells me the goal is to have a list of candidates to give to the mayor sometime in November, and that Oakland could have a new chief in place by the end of the year. Julie?
Yeah, it's been since February since Oakland's had a police chief. The findings of this report are just coming out. Has there been any reaction at all from the rank and file?
I haven't had a chance to talk to any police officers, but certainly, the members of the police commission, members of the public, the majority of the people I spoke with support the former chief.
All right, Amber Lee reporting live tonight in Oakland. Amber, thank you.
So one of the problems here actually is that if the mayor fucked up, I don't think there's a lot of space for the mayor to just be like, oops, and then rehire the old police chief, right? There's no space there. You got to double down on your shit. That's like the way that you have to do it, right?
Yeah, I don't see how she can politically, at least with the rhetoric she's putting out now, her office is putting out now, they've already doubled down and said, yeah, no, we defend our position and our decision, and we're looking forward to new leadership. So yeah, if there's no possible way that she appoints him again. And frankly, I don't know that he wants the job anyway, right? The only thing I think that would be good for him in that situation is just the retribution and sort of the validation, right? But I don't know that you want a job where you're not wanted by your boss, right? Like that's, you know that you've got one foot sort of out the door already. Like, why would you go to that job? So hopefully this exoneration at least helps him find someplace to land that's not in Oakland or OPD. But it's sad because he's right. Like he was born and raised in Oakland, and he's from that city, and he deserved the right. That was probably his dream job, frankly. So he deserved the right to hold that job until he truly does do something wrong, or he decides not to do it anymore. And I don't think either one of those things happened here.
Also, the anchor at the very beginning snuck in there that bullshit about crime skyrocketing.
Yes, well, I mean that's sort of like what did we used to call it in the news biz, but it's basically everyone had these little save streamed lines of content, right? A journalist would, it's stuff that they write in almost every story, right? So they could just access it with a macros or just a keystroke. So that sounds like something that's saved like that, like it's just sort of in the bullpen or the canister ready to go anytime. But
so
the crime is running rampant.
Not to beat this dead horse that I've been talking about, but crime's been on like an overall downtrend, especially violent crime in cities since the late 80s and early 90s. And there may be a way in which there's just a fucking floor that the crime rate kind of just keeps bouncing off of, if that makes sense, right? It'll hit the lowest and it's got nowhere to go but up, because that's basically the floor, because people are people and people do shit.
Things also go in cycles. But the cycles tend to be shorter terms. And if you look at things like you're saying on the long term, if you take a step back, the graphs become much more, and the lines become much more stable. Like the declines become much more stable. You can see it over time, the decline, right? And yeah, there's going to be a baseline. Eventually, you're going to hit a point where there's a certain number of people. There's going to be a number of crime, right? In a certain area. It's just how it's going to be. As long as you have capitalism and income inequality, you're going to have crime. So we just have to expect a certain level, but it's never nowhere near the worst it's ever been. And it's certainly not off the rails. It's not as though we're devolving into freaking chaos out there. Like, I'm sorry. You just take a walk outside sometime and have a look. But a lot of folks don't. A lot of folks get in their cars and commute to work on the freeway or wherever and don't really take a look around, or they get on the train and they get off the train and they don't take a look around. Or even sometimes they're walking and they don't take a look around, right? And they don't really see what's going on. They just have tunnel vision, and they let the local news and they let these folks, everyone but LaMonica, of course, tell them what they think and tell them what's for real and what's for real life. And right now, the narrative is that crime is running rampant. So we're just going to hear that over and over again.
It's so crazy because like people should check out other major metros.
Mm-hmm. Have a look at Chicago. Have a look at New York. Have a look at LA.
New York's actually really
San Diego. Yeah, even San Diego.
Yeah. Or just if you're in the Bay Area, check out the violent crime rate in Emeryville.
Emeryville, holy fuck! What's going on over there?
We should shut the whole thing down, and we should just turn off Emeryville and turn it back on.
They got malls and shit.
Yeah. Or St. Louis, Missouri, I heard is a pretty terrifying fucking place right now.
Well, Ferguson's right outside, right? Where a lot of the BLM movement started. So if St. Louis is not really top notch either right now.
But it's also a thing that like sort of feeds itself, right? Like if the community thinks that violent crime is on the uprise or that crime is on the uprise, there's going to be pressure on the police to arrest more people. And then as the police arrest more people, they're going to report more arrests, and then the crime rate's going to go up.
Right.
And so it's like, these things are all kind of fucked up in the first place. Like it's all like kind of self-reporting, and it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, but it's a self-perpetuating cycle for sure.
But I do hope that I don't know. Hopefully, like San Francisco magically has zero crime, so that the people that hate San Francisco can go back to hating the gay people or whatever the shit they want to hate San Francisco about next.
Plenty of shit to hate about San Francisco.
I feel like an interesting piece that I should probably write for the Defamation Times is start in about 1965 and just do a timeline of why everybody hated San Francisco for each 5-year period. Because I feel like there's a point where it probably would have been disco, right?
For sure.
And for a very long time, it was the gays. Before the disco, it was probably the hippies and the drugs.
Right.
And so like you could just you know, I think a timeline of why people hate San Francisco would be a pretty interesting article. It wouldn't be too hard to write either.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Anyway, we're looking at this is very interesting. This is very next segment of the show. This is looks like Bay Area public meetings have been targeted with hate speech by far right groups. You don't fucking say.
Yeah, welcome to Downballot.
Yeah, there's a whole fucking national campaign around this, and I hope this fucking news piece mentions that this is part of a broader campaign by like Moms for Liberty and other sort of like white Christian nationalist groups.
This is me holding my breath.
Let's see.
Several Bay Area public meetings have been under attack. Far-right extremists and hate groups are targeting cities and counties to harass officials and amplify their hateful messages. KTVU's Brooks Rose joins us live in the newsroom. And Brooks, this keeps happening in several communities.
Oh, Greg, we've learned it's happened in South San Francisco, Walnut Creek, Sacramento, and Monterey, to name a few. It's widespread, and really it's like a game of whack-a-mole because these are very coordinated attacks. The Anti-Defamation League says trolling groups from outside of California are seeking out local public meetings, then individually, one after another, lining up and virtually speaking and spewing hate without ever showing their faces.
We do not condone hate in our city.
The signs are clear in El Cerrito, standing up to stop the hate speech, heard time and time again during public comment at this week's city council meeting.
They would get onto Zoom, change their name to something that they're trying to get the city clerk to say. It's almost like junior high schoolers, like making up bad names to make someone read them out loud.
Mayor
Seymour Butts
says they then spewed racist and anti-Semitic comments, things so horrible we can't even share on the air.
They got to be so bad, we actually had to stop the meeting early.
At least one Jewish city official was personally attacked, much like Walnut Creek City Council member Kevin Wilk.
I was angry. I'm not going to be intimidated. And I'm certainly not going to step down from rebuking publicly vile, hateful comments, whether it's anti-Semitic comments or any other hateful comments.
He says his city was the first in the Bay Area targeted by outside groups.
They are looking to make...
Oh, I don't know about that. It depends on when he says it was, because we lost a whole last YouTube channel for a fucking reporting we did on the city of San Jose being targeted by outside groups via Zoom.
Yes. Wait, I'm sure that he's got more detail.
The hate speech.
These are not random attacks of bigots that just happen to be in the community. These are orchestrated attacks on these public meetings. They're coordinated.
Mark Levine is with the Anti-Defamation League. It's tracking an overwhelming increase in hijacked meetings, where those joining virtually don't show their faces, but push white supremacist, anti-Semitic, and anti-LGBTQ plus narratives.
To attract attention to themselves, to recruit and raise money, and to, unfortunately, stop government from serving the public.
If we hear those, you will be asked to stop. Just this week in Sonoma County, supervisors restricted public comment to in-person only. El Cerrito is considering the same thing. Neighbors have expressed concern not enough has been done to stop the hate. But the mayor says the city has to follow the law, and cutting off comments could be costly.
That is exactly the kind of gut reaction that these hate speakers are looking for. They're looking for a reason to sensationalize things on social media. They want to bring a lawsuit against us for breaching their First Amendment rights and making this a bigger deal.
Which is why leaders are uniting with a single message that they hope will ripple through the region.
You can come to our community, but you cannot bring your hate here.
Local governments are considering legal ways to restrict hate speech. That includes limiting the total time for a public comment period or reducing the time a person can speak. Another strategy, save public comments for the end of the meeting and encourage positive ones. In the newsroom, Brooks Jerose, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, Brooks, and on that note, is there anything lawmakers could do to prevent this kind of hate speech from hijacking public meetings?
Well, there is some work being done on a potential legislative front here. This was a big topic at a conference of California cities this week. The Anti-Defamation League has a toolkit for all public agencies so they can implement similar strategies. But really, you bring up a good point. Changes to the law could better deal with potential First Amendment concerns and other liabilities.
Yeah, certainly a challenge many are dealing with. Brooks Rose live in our newsroom tonight. Brooks.
So I don't like this banning people from visiting via Zoom. It could be anything from somebody with a person with a disability to just somebody who has something they really fucking care about, but they just got off work and they'd rather just go home.
Yeah, very slippery slope. It's not, and I don't think they want to reverse course here. And if anything, the pandemic really helped accelerate the ability for people to log on and to virtually participate in their government. So I think that's fabulous. And the fact that it's being, hijacked, anyone can do. They can do that. We've seen it at live meetings, right? Shasta County all the time, where live people come into live meetings and stand in line and Jews show their faces and give their names, right? We know their names. You can.
We literally have their names on a fucking bingo card,
right? Like you can recite their names, off the top of your head, probably. And so I don't know that that's something new or something that we can't control for, right? You control for it is by when people make threats. Legitimate threats, you go after them and you shut them down, right? You provide protection and support in defense for your elected officials, right? Even if that means security details, yeah. Even if that means police in the chamber, sure. There's things we can do to deter this kind of shit, but you're never going to get rid of it entirely. Otherwise, there would never be. We wouldn't have a show. So. I really hope that they don't ever get rid of it, because it would mean that someone else is, like you said, someone else who has a really legitimate thing to say and some lived experience that would benefit them to hear, but can't get to the damn meeting, right? That has the option of participating still. So hopefully this isn't used as a reason to do that. But I'm really glad that local news is catching up to the fact that this is happening. I didn't hear a whole lot about national, other than the guy from the Anti-Defamation League. And maybe a couple of comments about how folks from outside of California were doing this, but not some sort of coordinated national effort, which is exactly what it is.
Right. I fucking knew that like 3 years ago. As soon as it started happening, I'm like, hold on, let me go take a little poke around in some of the I know what's going on here. This is coordinated. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you know the answer to this. When we watch Clearwater, Florida, if you don't live in Clearwater, they don't let you speak. Do you know if I don't know if that's legal in Florida, but they do it. Do you know if that's legal in California to try to do like sort of like how the porn sites, like legitimate porn sites, some of them do like a KYC, like know your customer? Would it be legal for them to require that you like sign up before the meeting and like make some attempt to demonstrate that you live within the jurisdiction, even if you're calling in remotely?
I don't know what the law is silent or not on that in California. I think it'd be really hard to be a lawsuit if you tried to do that and restrict it to simply people who live in your jurisdiction or whatever, right? Or California. That could get problematic. They could probably implement it or to get it passed for a time, but I'd imagine that the Nazi free speech movement would push that in court, right, and try to overturn it based on free speech and other constitutional citations, more than likely. So I don't think it would go very far. So I don't know what the answer is, other than being just awareness and canceling these fuckers, publicly. The opportunity to do that, right? Because public comment is, or an open forum, at least at these meetings, is unique in that this is an opportunity for people to speak generally about stuff that's not on the agenda, and in theory, it's a way for the public to say, "Hey, this should be on your agenda, right? This is something you're not, right? This is an important thing that you're not talking about." Well, these fuckers are using it to talk about stuff that probably is on the agenda or isn't, or just to go after these fools, and just act the fool, right? And you just you can't really get rid of that. If you're going to give the opportunity for people to come with their good ideas, you're going to have to tolerate people with bad ideas, right? And there are limitations. There are certainly things that they can't say and do. And the elected officials themselves can prosecute people and get restraining orders against them, and that does happen. There's at least one or two people in San Jose who are not allowed to approach any city official, or any city employee, period, within like 500 feet. Or the cops could be called. They can be carted off to jail because they have a restraining order because they did get violent or threatened violence on city employees. So, that is one way. They can just bar people legally if they've just legally done something wrong. But if they're just saying shit, there's just not much you can do about it. You just have to take it and have political will to put up with it.
Yeah, I do not like the idea of getting rid of the remote. I'm not. First of all, I think you may run into some problems with California state law about people with disabilities if you don't allow it. Although Shasta doesn't allow it, and I don't believe San Jose that you can't zoom in to San Jose anymore. Can you?
You can.
Oh,
you can. It's still hybrid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For the council, for the council meetings, I think at least, if not some of the commission meetings, like the planning commission, I think still.
But what I think, like, and we talk about Shasta a lot here, but it's like a prime example. What a lot of like what has happened now at their during the open forum part of the public comment, where it's either off agenda items or it might be about an agenda item, but the person just wants to talk about it during open forum because they got to leave or whatever. A lot of that lately is now started to be used to for petty personal grievances with each other, where people go up there and just talk about some other fucking member of the community.
Right.
And it's like, once that starts happening, it's just fucking, it's for whoever to do whatever and say whatever. I don't know the answer. I guess well, maybe we won't have an answer, and that'll be why this public comment thing is, gonna keep going, because I have no shortage of places to look. I just have no shortage. Even if we just did California, I have no shortage. And, in this case, I think a lot of it is the group Moms for Liberty. But I don't know, because if there's a Zoom meeting, right, all you have to do is give your group of, even if it's just like a Telegram channel with 100 people in it, right? All you have to do is give them the invite information and tell them what time and tell them what subjects that you want to poison this meeting with. And you get 10 people doing that, you done fucked up a meeting.
Yeah, here's what to say. Go do it. Call in, Zoom in, here's the instructions. Just go do it. You've got time. You're in your stepmom's basement jerking off.
Or you're an older person who's retired, or it could be anybody.
Yeah.
So we're going to move along here. This is also a very local. This is Sunol, which is just around the way from where I live right now. Apparently the school board has voted against flying the pride flag. Now, it's not Pride Month or anything. So, maybe we have some time before next June, and maybe maybe this can get solved. But let's see what the NBC Bay Area has to say about it.
The debate not over. That is the pledge from parents in the small Tri-Valley town of Sunol. On Tuesday, the school board passed a resolution that prevents the pride flag and some other flags from being flown on school property. As NBC Bay's Jody Hernandez tells us, parents say they're now looking at a recall effort and even possible legal action.
It's just a recognition of that marginalized group to say, you're safe, we see you, and you're welcome.
But while the pride flag flew on the Sunol Glen School campus during Pride Month, it won't be displayed ever again. In fact, all special interest flags have been taken down tonight after the school board passed a resolution earlier this week banning all except the American and California flags from being displayed on school grounds.
It feels like a different campus right now. We're still sort of reeling and collecting ourselves.
Parents we spoke with today say the school board's decision doesn't line up with the community and the school's principal and teachers. They say the resolution proposed by school board president Ryan Jorgensen represents extremist views held by just a fraction of the community's residents.
We're certainly standing up as a community to push back against this. This is not right. The majority of us feel this way, and we're going to demand to be heard.
Parents say they're also considering a recall effort and legal action against the two board members who voted for the resolution. Meanwhile, tonight, flag holders outside many of the school's classrooms that once displayed a multitude of colorful flags are empty.
Some just flew like very simple flags, welcome flags, a flag with flowers on it. One had a flag with birds on it.
We found several flags now stored in a plastic bin in the school's office. Even a community club banner has been removed.
It's definitely a different environment now.
But parents...
That one they can't remove says Eagle Pride on it. Can't remove that. It's painted on your marquee. Look at that. Sorry.
LGBTQ families to know they support them.
I'm sorry. That's what it's... It hurts. I have friends. I have family members.
This is not over.
We tried to reach out to the school board president. He declined to comment.
Whoa!
Nope.
Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay.
Poop emoji.
He didn't even not bother to respond. He actually responded and wrote back, "Nope."
So this is again part of this more coordinated effort. So and because this is the low hanging fruit, right? You either run people who just don't say shit about this issue, and they happen to live in the community, and people are like, okay, whatever, I'm going to vote for this person, right? They live down the street from me. I don't say shit about this issue, and then they show up at the school board, and then this is the thing that they decide to do. This is they've been talking about this for a while. Michael Flynn, disgraced former General Michael Flynn, has been talking about this at these Reawaken America tour events for a very long time. And this is the playbook. And
absolutely.
A place like Sunol is perfect for it because the voter turnout, there's not a lot of people there anyway. And voter turnout for school board's probably pretty fucking low there.
Well, you're talking about hundreds of voters, period, in this community. There's three school board members, right? So it only takes 2 votes to do anything. And you saw the chambers there full of people. That's probably the voters of Sunol, right? And or maybe it's the voters, who did not vote for this douchebag, right? And then there's a few hundred others.
Or maybe they did, and because maybe they did because these people didn't fucking say shit about any of this when they were running.
Sure. He looked like such a nice white Aryan dude. So I don't know why I didn't think he would do this, but he seemed like such a nice boy. He used to mow the yard. But yeah, that's probably the number of votes you need, right? And you talk to enough people, and you get it done. And they absolutely target low hanging fruit. They target places where they're targeting school boards right now because school board races are just not very, like you said, the turnout's very low. The awareness is very low. It's very easy to take over a school board, and it's happened locally in some places. Here in the Tony, affluent, liberal Bay Area, this has happened. Even in some small city councils, it's happened where you've got majority Republican city councils in areas that are heavily Democratic. There's no reason why it should be that way. It's just that these races are nonpartisan. No one knows who you are or what you are really, and it doesn't take that much money and that much door knocking to move an election. And so this guy got elected. He proposed this thing. He had another vote from someone else who got elected, and elections have consequences.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here because they might. I don't know. I'm not big on recalls, but if they recall these people, that'll be fun. That'll be something to cover.
Can see reverse recall. At the very least, it will not cost a lot because it's such a small community that even printing ballots for everyone is probably not going to cost a lot. So who knows? We'll see. We'll have it on recall watch when it happens.
Up next, we got Mayor Ed 209 being interviewed talking about the city's budget. That's San Jose, California's budget.
Yeah, so there's a little more detail from the story we had earlier.
Very nice.
Off on a new contract for city union workers, one that involves higher pay. Those changes will be reflected on the city budget during the next fiscal year.
But it could come at a cost of city services, including crossing guard roles and other traffic safety work. Mayor Matt Mahan was the sole official to have voted against the contract, citing these uncertainties.
So joining us live via Zoom to talk about the budget and its impact, San Jose Mayor.
Funny, the guy in the middle sounds like he's on remote. You hear him?
And welcome, Mayor. First question, we know your people approached us about this after this vote. We've got to ask about cutting crossing guards because we've seen so many people hurt or killed in San Jose out there on the streets. Why crossing guards?
Well, good morning.
Well, because it plays well.
For having me. Let me start by saying I think it's great that our workforce is getting a raise and that we've averted a strike. That's the good news. The bad news here is that under intense political pressure...
The bad news here is that our workforce has gotten a raise and we averted a strike.
The council went too far and has offered raises that we can't afford. I've been warning from the outset that if we went above that threshold, we were going to see cuts. And sure enough, our city manager came back this week and laid out a menu of initial cuts for this year, including crossing guard roles, which I voted against. I'm very concerned about. We had a child hit and killed on their way walking to school just late last year. Traffic safety has been a huge issue for our city.
That looks like Viva Calle.
Pedestrian and cyclist deaths, and we're really working hard to turn that around. So that's just the beginning, though. Park activations, roles in IT and Department of Transportation have been cut. And my real fear is looking at the budget in the next couple of years. We have signed up for unsustainable increases at a time when many of the economic indicators are much more uncertain. Last night, the head of our retirement funds told us that this creates a roughly ballpark $60 million unfunded liability in our pension system as well, which will begin to hit our general fund in about a year. So I don't think it's fiscally responsible. I don't think it's fair to residents. We can pay our workers well without cutting services. Unfortunately, the council did not decide to do that this year.
On a surface level, when you look at this, it says to me that you care about your residents' safety more than you care about those people striking. How easy was it for you to come to this decision?
Well, it's very hard to balance all of the different needs our community has. I empathize with our workers, and they've done nothing wrong here. And in fact, I think their unions who represent them have done a fantastic job of advocating for their needs. We live in a high-cost region, and we have had significant inflation, and I don't...
Matt, just take the L. Take the L, Matt. My God. Just take the L.
They can, but elected officials have a different job to do. Our job is to look at all of the different needs in the community and try to best balance those needs. The reality is that the service cuts that are likely to come, and in fact are already coming in the form of crossing guards and public programming, impacts all of our residents and especially our lower income and more vulnerable residents. So this was a year where we had enough money to offer generous raises, a 5% raise in year one, which, by the way, is not the only raise many of our workers get. Younger workers get step increases each year. Workers in management positions get a management performance review and are eligible to earn additional money as well. So, we could have done a 5% raise this year without any cuts. The council went to 6% under pressure, and lo and behold, we're making cuts. I just don't feel like that's the right balance for our community.
Well, Mayor Mahan, we only have about a minute left. And, I want to be all about solutions in this instance. It sounds like this money is going to be tied up. So what now? Where are you going to look for funding or opportunities to maybe find ways to keep people a little safer on the streets since you're losing crossing guards?
That's right. But by law, we have to have a balanced budget. We don't get to print money. So I will be working very closely with our city manager as we head into the next budget cycle to make sure that the cuts that we have to make have minimal impacts on our residents, particularly public safety. That's a top priority for me. I don't think that this is the right time to look at new revenue measures. Our community is incredibly burdened with the high cost of living. We already are a high tax state. So I think the real answer will be tightening our belts, being more innovative, more efficient, and then growing our tax base. Downtown San Jose is having seen a period of growth. We've had 30 small businesses open just this calendar year. We're seeing a lot of great energy. It's been a wonderful summer in downtown San Jose. I think seeing economic growth and that organic growth of the tax base is our best hope for getting out of this unfortunate trade-off we've created.
Mayor Matt Mahan, we always appreciate you joining us live here on the broadcast, having these community conversations. Thank you so much.
He said 30 businesses open, but how many closed?
Yeah, that gets omitted, right? Like you said about a photo, right? In a photo, you can make it look good. So that's exactly what he's doing here. This is like him taking a photograph and giving you the framing and, controlling the framing and controlling the mise en scène, controlling the layout and the people in it, right? And then the talking points. He's controlling the narrative, or trying to at least, but he's losing because his narrative doesn't hold water. In fact, there are many studies that have shown how this actually improves economic impact by giving people more buying power and people ability to live in and stay in San Jose, who work in San Jose and work for the city. The city is one of the top employers in the city, wouldn't you know? So this is impacting thousands of workers who can then spend their money here, right? And spend their dollars here and improve the economy and build tax base and build revenue for the city that then goes back into the city employees' pockets. So not to mention that city employees are the ones who actually execute all these programs and implement all these programs that we have. So if you're not paying them well or paying them at all, you're just not going to have a lot of the services that he's talking about cutting in the first place. So it's again, slippery slope. But he's just trying to push his own narrative, which is, the programs are more important than the people that do them.
And he's like, downtown San Jose is thriving. It's like, motherfucker, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. Downtown San Jose is not thriving unless something dramatic changed in like the 3 months since I lived in San Jose or something. Get the fuck out of here, Mahan.
There's vacancies and boarded up windows all down Santa Clara Street and some of the other major thoroughfares. It's definitely, it's not a ghost town, but it's just not. It's not what they're making it out to be, right? It's just like things aren't falling off a cliff, right? It's not some sort of crime-ridden, filth, hovel, but it's certainly not the paradise of economic development that he's trying to pitch, for sure.
Right, and it's because the city's been suffering with this for a long time.
Yeah,
they want a very, it's like sanitized downtown, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, well, what if your downtown, if sort of left to its own economic devices, was like a lot of tattoo shops and bars and clubs and shit, then what? Now you're just like denying like all of that the opportunity to exist because of this idea you have in your head about this place just always being a suburb.
Right.
And it's like, well, so it's, people who work in entertainment in San Jose, they know what dealing with the fucking city is like, and it ain't easy. And there's a lot of desire for that. And there's a lot of spaces that were once entertainment spaces that are appropriate for entertainment that cannot and will not get those permits.
Mm-hmm. Not anymore. Or they should, or they don't have the time to fight or to push for it or to just to go through the motions even. Yeah. Space is the number one commodity right now for culture and creativity in San Jose. We just don't have enough of it, period. So we'll see. More to come on that front.
All right, so we got one more here on Down Ballot Watch. San Jose City Council member denies hitting a man on his bike and then paying him off. Oh, fuck, man. Oh, fuck. And it's not Ed 209, is it?
No, but it is District 10 related. And as we've recalled, Mayor Ed 209's opponent, running over someone in Los Gatos. This looks like it just seems to be a thing for District 10 council members or candidates. It's in the water in Almaden.
A San Jose council member facing some heat. This after allegedly striking a man on a bicycle and then paying him off. A video of that incident is now going viral on social media.
Today in the Bay's Chris Sanchez has been following this story. She joins us from our newsroom this morning. May set up for a really interesting council meeting in just a few hours from now, Chris.
Well, this is just a regularly scheduled council meeting, so there's no action item related to what happened with the city council member. However, the way that it works, as you may know, is that public comment is open to anybody to talk about anything. So we'll see if anybody shows up during public comment to address the councilman. Now, a downtown city worker is the one who witnessed this, and although she did not want to be identified, she did capture the aftermath on video. That witness shared it first with the news outlet San Jose Spotlight. It shows San Jose City Councilman Arjun Batra at the scene of the alleged crash that was at San Fernando and 4th Streets last Wednesday. City Hall is at 4th Street and Santa Clara. The witness says she recognized Councilmember Batra as the one out of his car talking with that man and then handing over money, and that turned out to be $40. We have a picture of the man's bike, and not that it matters, but that man is unhoused. You can see the rear wheel is bent. The council member denies hitting the man's bike, but does say that he had a close call with him. Batra also admits to giving that man the $40 after he claimed that he was down on his luck. Now, Councilman Batra issued a statement reading in part, "I am at City Hall to work on my two top priorities, pedestrian and traffic safety and homelessness. I'm glad I was able to personally help this man in some small way." Now, that city council meeting is at 1:30 this afternoon. Public comment usually comes pretty close to the beginning. We'll be tracking this story for you throughout the day. We'll bring you updates. Marcus?
All right. Thanks so much, Chris.
So there's a little, it's not that funny, but the idea that traffic safety was this guy's top priority and he may very well have run into some guy's bike.
Yes, I think that's bloody hilarious. So more to come here. I don't know. There could be more to this story than meets the eye, but it just seems like a very unfortunate incident. But luckily everyone's okay in this case. No one died. So, but another kerfuffle in San Jose local politics. This is, of course, Arjun Batra, who was appointed back in January. We covered that extensively here on Down Ballot, and will be facing re-election come March.
Well, I hope he's not run. If he doesn't run it, if he runs against a cyclist, he can just run them over.
He's got opponents. He has opponents, and they are human, and they can stand on their feet.
Well, we got another thing. It looks like karate. This is a funny headline. Karate instructors stop an attempted carjacking in Oakland. Let's see what happened here.
2 Good Samaritans stopping an attempted carjacking in Oakland. Take a look. This happened last month on Piedmont Avenue. You can see a man returning to his car when he's approached by 2 men in sweatshirts who take his keys right out of his hand. As they go back to the man's car, watch this. 2 people intervene. The carjackers then drove off without taking the victim's car. The Good Samaritans reportedly work at a karate school across the street.
So that's, you know what? They, in a moment, in like the moment of decision, they did a smart thing. They're like, so these people are trying to steal a car. They used a car to steal the car. Let's go fuck up the car that they used to try to steal this other car.
I kill your fucking car. I love it. And here I was expecting this clip to be like, wow, like guys just flying out and karate chop and kicking guys in the nuts. But no, they just came out with bats and beat the shit out of the fucking carjacker's car. It's beautiful, and they ran away. It's like run away.
And Drake in our chat says that now it'd maybe easier to find the perpetrators too because the car's all fucked up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was one of the reasons you do that. And it's like they don't give a fuck. Like, oh, gun, that's cool. Fuck you, run away. And then the guy with the gun's like, oh no, they've got bats. Run away. Yeah, so, right place, right time. Just jump right in there and get shit done. Gotta love it.
Well, that's Down Ballot. You can check us out every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. right here on Twitch. And Councilman, you want to read us out?
Absolutely. Thank you as always for joining us, listener and viewer. We appreciate this. We do this for you. So please visit echoplexmedia.com for all the ways you can support us, for all the moich that you can possibly handle. Remember, again, we are here every week, and stay tuned for public comment, which is coming up next. Audible Smoke will also be up here to tickle your eardrums. Remember to get your vaccinations, wear a mask if it's appropriate, but pants are always optional. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is down at 30 and 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course. Shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, think about we do. Yes, I gotta say,